with Dr. Carmen Bain of Iowa State University. Thank you so much for your time. We're talking about genetically modified organisms. You say that the use and labeling of GMOs is a wicked problem. What does that mean?
So a wicked problem, this is a term that's been coined by researchers to describe a problem or a social issue that's inherently political and social. And the reason for emphasizing this is it helps us to appreciate that it doesn't just involve scientific facts and issues. And that if we want to solve the problem or settle the issue of the controversy around GMOs and GMO labeling, we have to appreciate the social and political and ethical dimensions to these questions and engage in discussing them and not assume that science can resolve the problem for us.
Who would you say are the key actors in the controversy around GMO labeling?
I think the most critical actors who have really helped frame the GMO labeling debate, who have played a key role in mobilizing segments of the public are consumer and environmental organizations who are opposed to GMOs. So organizations like the Centre for Food Safety and Environmental Working Group, I think, that played a really critical role and have sort of come together to form what we might think of as an anti-GMO social movement. So there are the key actors on one side. I think other key actors are what we can think of as political or ethical consumers, people who are concerned about, where their food comes from, how it's produced, and are wanting more information about their food. And then on the other side, of course, we have the big players who are opposed to GMO labeling, the biotech companies, some of the big farm industry organizations, and some government agencies like the USDA and the FDA.
For the anti-GMO activists, you've said that GMOs are a proxy for other concerns they have about the agri-food system. What do you mean by that?
So I think that when you talk to a lot of the key activist organizations who are opposing GMOs, and you talk to them about why they're focusing on this issue, and what they'll talk about is that really they have much broader concerns about a whole array of issues related to the sustainability of the agri-food system. So they have concerns about the use of pesticides, they have concerns about corporate control of seeds, they have concerns about patents and so forth. So they themselves have a whole number of concerns, but GMOs is a way that they've been effectively been able to reach a segment of the public and connect with the public around the food system. So it's.
Can you talk about how the issue is framed, not as a scientific issue, by the GMO activists? They've talked about freedom of choice, for example.
Right. So when we look at the debate around GMO labeling, there is, in terms of how these activist organizations have attempted to mobilize consumers and the public, they don't talk about science, they don't talk about food safety, they don't talk about any of their risks. They're really talking about much broader notions of rights, an individual, right to choose, to decide what people eat, about notions of greater transparency in the food system. So I think this has really connected with a layer of consumers who, as I just mentioned, are really concerned about what they're eating and wanting to feel empowered over making greater decisions about what they buy and what they consume.
Several big brands and retailers have developed non-GMO labels. How will that affect this trend moving forward?
So I think this is a really interesting development. A lot of the focus of the anti-GMO movement has been trying to pass mandatory labelling at the state or federal level, and this has largely been unsuccessful. But what we have seen really take off is efforts by food retailers and others to develop products and brands that are non-GMO, and this has really exploded. Some people say it's the fastest growing trend within food retailing. And one might argue that with this very contentious and very controversial issue, that these efforts towards voluntary labelling might actually prove to be a way to help settle the issue. That because it's a way that those consumers who are concerned about non-GMOs can buy it without imposing the costs on everyone, people who are not concerned about it. It's profitable for food retailers, so they're very interested in it. And for some of the large companies who are proponents of GMOs and have been opposed to mandatory labelling, from their perspective, they would much rather see voluntary labelling versus mandatory labelling. So this might be a way to settle the issue.
Dr. Bain, thank you very much.
Thank you.